Now, live from the Patriot Detroit Radio Complex, this is the John McCulloch Show.
Well, let me just say this without hesitation, that I conducted no improper discussions with Russians at any time regarding a campaign or any other item facing this country.
Okay, how do you
know? I want to say that first. And that's been the suggestion that you've raised and others. It was somehow we had conversations that were improper.
May I suggest that...
No. You had a long time, Senator Franken. I'd like to respond.
Okay.
I think I have a...
I don't want... they're going to cut me off, and so I want to ask you some questions.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have to sit in here and listen to his...
You're the one who
charges without having a chance to respond. Give me a break.
Now, here's John.
And welcome into the Thursday edition of the McCulloch Show here on FM 101.5 and AM 1400, The Patriot. Glad you could join us for the fastest hour in local Detroit talk radio, where your host continues serving his life sentence in reality. Be advised, here all lives matter. There is no political correctness. There are no safe zones for the snowflakes. And if you can be triggered tonight, I guarantee you're going to be triggered because I'm upset. And we're going to talk about it. George W. Bush, gave a speech. He was talking about white privilege and white supremacists and all this kind of thing. And, white supremacists, if they make up 1% of the population, that's probably more than it's got to be less than that. And another person, a congresswoman, raised that question again today. And this whole thing about President Trump calling the families of 4 fallen soldiers in Niger has gotten out of hand, was out of hand from the beginning. And I want to make sure that you understand exactly what happened, because I don't think you're going to get the full story from the mainstream press. I can pretty much guarantee it. So we're going to go over it tonight, and then we're going to call for putting a stop to it, because I heard threats from some stupid football player about beware of November 4th. That's the day we bring down Donald Trump. BS. Bring it on. And it's gotten out of hand. And it's because we won't talk about it. So tonight we're going to talk about it. We're going to do it through the vehicle of General John Kelly, Marine General John Kelly, one heck of a guy, Chief of Staff of the White House, and what he tried to do in a press conference today, which I think if you saw the whole thing, you would understand. But we're going to make sure tonight that we put this Congresswoman where she belongs, back in her empty barrel. You'll get the drift of that in just a couple of minutes. So this first thing that we're going to listen to is General John Kelly. Now, there are 2 cuts in here are longer than I normally would like to play during a radio show, but we're going to do it because this is important. It's important enough that you hear it all. So this is the first cut from General John Kelly's press conference, where he is attempting to explain to this core of people who were pretty well put down by the time the whole thing was over. They're anxious to start asking all these weird questions and so forth, and he just took it over. And here is where he is explaining what President Trump said, and how he got the wording of what to say to these folks who were grieving as he struggled with the decision of whether or not to make the phone call. Do cut 1, please, Tiffany.
And he said to me, "What do I say?" I said to him, "Sir, there's nothing you can do to lighten the burden on these families. But let me tell you what I tell them. And let me tell you what my best friend, Joe Dunford, told me, because he was my casualty officer. He said, Kel, he was doing exactly what he wanted to do when he was killed. He knew what he was getting into. by joining that 1%. He knew what the possibilities were because we're at war. And when he died, in the 4 cases we're talking about, in Niger, my son's case in Afghanistan, when he died, he was surrounded by the best men on this earth, his friends. That's what the president tried to say to 4 families the other day.
Now, there's 2 ways you can couch that. You can couch it the way Frederica Wilson did. Well, he knew exactly what he was getting into. That's not the way the president said it. That's not what he meant when he said it. And to insinuate otherwise is just short of blasphemy, as far as I'm concerned. So, white privilege, black privilege, whatever, Frederica Wilson does not get a pass on this. And General John Kelly went on to say, please play cut 2.
I was stunned when I came to work yesterday morning and brokenhearted at what I saw a member of Congress doing. A member of Congress who listened in on a phone call from the President of the United States to a young wife, and in his way tried to express that opinion. He's a brave man, a fallen hero. He knew what he was getting himself into because he enlisted. There's no reason to enlist. He enlisted. And he was where he wanted to be, exactly where he wanted to be, with exactly the people he wanted to be with when his life was taken. That was the message. That was the message that was transmitted. It stuns me that a member of Congress would have listened in on that conversation. Absolutely stuns me. And I thought, at least that was sacred. You know, when I was a kid growing up, a lot of things were sacred in our country. Women were sacred and looked upon with great honor. That's obviously not the case anymore, as we see from recent cases. Life, the dignity of life, was sacred. That's gone. Religion, that seems to be gone as well. Gold Star families, I think that left in the convention over the summer. But I just thought the selfless devotion that brings a man or woman to die on the battlefield, I just thought that that might be sacred.
You see, from what General John Kelly said, what the left has done to this country. And if it doesn't infuriate you, it should. Every single thing that he brought up that was considered sacred at one point has been destroyed by the left and people like Frederica Wilson. Marine General John Kelly, when he saw what she was doing, was so stunned, he went out and walked around Arlington Cemetery for an hour and a half. It so shook him, what he saw. And as he pointed out, walked around among stones of many men who he had sent to Arlington Cemetery because he was their commander at one point. But then the story gets finished. And much of this I don't believe you're aware of. But this is the rest of what General John Kelly had to say. And if you haven't heard it, it's going to shock you, I think. And if you have, well, you're going to hear it again. Go ahead, please, Tiffany.
I'll end with this. In October, April rather, of 2015, I was still on active duty, and I went to the dedication of the new FBI field office in Miami. And it was dedicated to 2 men who were killed in a firefight in Miami against drug traffickers in 1986. A guy by the name of Grogan in Duke. Grogan almost retired, 53 years old. Duke, I think less than a year on the job. Anyways, they got in a gunfight and they were killed. 3 others FBI agents were there, were wounded, now retired. So we go down, Jim Comey, get an absolutely brilliant memorial speech to those fallen men and to all of the men and women of the FBI who serve our country so well, and law enforcement so well. There were family members there. Some of the children that were there were only 3 or 4 years old when their dads were killed on that street in Miami-Dade. 3 of the men that survived the fight were there and gave a rendition of how brave those men were and how they gave their lives. And a congresswoman stood up, and in the long tradition of empty barrels making the most noise, stood up there and all of that and talked about how she was instrumental in getting the funding for that building and how she took care of her constituents because she got the money, and she just called up President Obama, and on that phone call he gave the money, the $20 million to build the building. And she sat down, and we were stunned that she'd done it. Even for someone that is that empty a barrel, we were stunned. But you know, none of us went to the press and criticized. None of us stood up and were appalled. We just said, okay, fine. So I still hope, as you write your stories, and I appeal to America, that let's not let this maybe last thing that's held sacred in our society. A young man, young woman going out and giving his or her life for our country. Let's try to somehow keep that sacred.
And if you have a heart full of hatred, you'll hear it in the opposite way it was presented. Don't you think this garbage has gone far enough? Could this Congresswoman be the focal point, the pivotal point that gets us to sit down and talk about this stuff intelligently? Get to the bottom of it, to the truth of it? My telephone number is 800-923-9385. That's 800-923-WDTK. Yes, Congresswoman Frederica Wilson brought home the bacon to Miami-Dade. In the midst of a tribute to fallen heroes, she had to let everybody know she was the one who brought home the bacon. That's what kind of person started this furor. I hope we can end it tonight, or at least start on the road to ending it. And maybe comment on how we can get some of these sacred things that the left has stolen from this society back into the society. My number is 800-923-9385. That's 800-923-WDTK. You can reach me on the text feature on your WDTK phone app. Just go to your phone's app store, search WDTK, then download it, install it. Look at all the features and see all the people that you can listen to, all the fine Salem hosts. And also go to Text John McCulloch. And when you send a text there to that number, it comes in right here to this screen that if you're watching on Facebook, I'm pointing at right now. And I'll see it in real time. And they come in fast. So let's get the lines lit up at 800-923-9385 as we continue with the John McCulloch Show here on FM 101.5 and AM 1400, The Patriot. Dr. Richard Klein is a specially educated neuromuscular dentist with over 30 years' experience managing TMJ and sleep apnea disorders at the Michigan Head and Neck Institute. And Dr. Klein is on his way here right now because we're going to do another edition of Getting Out of the Pain Lane. Some of you have realized that and have begun sending text questions in to Dr. Klein, and that's a great thing to do. So if you feel like doing that now during the program, that's fine too. We'll take the text questions and read them to Dr. Klein. Some people are a little more comfortable doing it that way rather than calling in, and I understand that. But the point is that we're going to be here doing this show at 7 o'clock, and you'll have time to learn a lot about sleep apnea and TMJ disorder, and you'll also have an opportunity to hear some of the symptoms and see if perhaps they apply to you. Because some people have the symptoms for years and don't know that they got them. And they know they got the symptoms and they don't know what's causing it. So, and by the way, you can go to tmjmichigan.com right now and take a look at those symptoms, and at least the ones we know so far, and you can see if they match symptoms you have, and if they do, all the information to contact Dr. Klein is right there. But I'm giving you the information you need to contact Dr. Klein right now. Here's the information. You call him right here in this studio on the same number in about 40 minutes. So remember, getting out of the pain lane coming right up, and we do hope that you'll stay tuned for that. I promise you an entertaining and informative show. And by the way, when you do get to Dr. Klein, any way that you go there, please let him know John McCulloch sent you.
Now, on-time traffic and weather on the Patriot.
I-94 westbound at West Grand Boulevard, an accident on the right shoulder of the exit ramp. I-696 eastbound between Woodward and I-75, the left lane closed for construction. Traffic is slow from Greenfield. Beginning Friday at 8 p.m., the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel is scheduled to close in both directions for sealing maintenance going on through October 30th. I-96, the Jeffries eastbound and westbound at West Grand Boulevard, the left lane closed, and West Grand Boulevard closed between I-96 and Grand River Avenue. That work scheduled through November 6th. DeQuinder between Square Lake Road and Burning Bush Drive, that's closed for construction through November 15th. Your weather forecast tonight, clear, a low around 43. Friday, sunny with a high near 70. Friday night, clear with a low around 52. Right now, it's 70 degrees. We update traffic and weather 4 times an hour. I'm Kevin Sanderson on the Patriot, FM 101.5 and AM 1400.
Hey, Warrior fans, don't forget to tune in right here on your home for the Warriors next Saturday at 12:45 as Josh Rennell and I travel up north, and I mean way up north, to Houghton. That is the home of Michigan Tech, and the place where we will be for the next exciting game, Wayne State Warrior football, right here on 101.5 and AM 1400, The Patriot.
The John McCulloch Show is sponsored in part by Azertech Public Adjusters.
FM 101.5, AM 1400, The Patriot. We're talking about that disgusting performance by Frederica Wilson, representative to a U.S. Congress. By the way, it's important to remember every representative is up for re-election in the next election. And there's lots of ways to get messages into Ms. Wilson's district. One of the best I can think of would be to just take clips of the disgusting stuff she was saying today and just keep sending them. You can tweet them, put them on Facebook, put them anywhere you want. She does not deserve to go back to Washington, at least not as a representative. John in Chesterfield, you're first on the Patriot. Go ahead.
Good evening, John. I just think this woman is plain evil. Because I've seen the clips of the wife and the little daughter of this guy of them crying over this sergeant's casket, and I thought about it. You know, I was on funeral detail, and what she's doing, she's black. Let's play the black and white game. She's black. She's trying to roust up that. But when I was on funeral detail, I had to go down in Detroit. Me and my white captain, and I'm a white guy. We had to honor a Vietnam veteran, a fallen guy. And we had to give the woman the flag. And we had to do say our things, you know, that thank you on behalf of a great nation. This is evil. This is divisive. And we were an all-black church. And you know what? It was the greatest thing. We were all one. That's a private moment. And this woman, this congresswoman, they need to take that out of Washington. These guys, they serve. This guy was the 1%. He was special forces. Anybody could serve in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. This guy was above everybody that serves with him. I don't know if you understand that, if you ever served. These guys are special.
I do get that, John, and I do appreciate the call. Now, I have my normal left-wing wackos who are sending in text messages saying, well, why don't you talk about the mother? She said that the Congresswoman was right. And what did I say at the beginning? If you have hate in your heart, you're going to hear the opposite of what is said. Or perhaps you can be led in that direction. There was no disrespect there, and there was no... You're wrong, sir. You're just wrong. Wrong. Mary in Detroit, you're next on the Patriot. Go ahead.
What I would like somebody to explain to me is how saying that an American hero had courage from the beginning is somehow an insult. Because that's what he said. He knew what he was getting into. Means the man had the courage to put his life on the line. That's a compliment. It's not a put down. It's not insensitive. How stupid does that woman think we are? Well
said, Mary. I thank you so much for your call. Couldn't have said it better myself. Here's Sam in Detroit on the Patriot. Hey, Sam.
This president, ever since you said he was going to run, has been in defensive mode, defending what he's had to say, defending what he had to do. And all of you conservative talk shows spend 70 to 90 person. He needs to say, I'm not defending myself anymore. All of you out there, if you don't like what I say and what I do, you can go F yourself. I've been elected by millions of people in this country that believe in my agenda. And you're nothing but traitors like both Clintons and Obama who belong in jail for 30 years because of emails, the pay-for-play, the uranium with bribery, and with Bill Clinton sending top nuclear secrets to China for money. They all belong in jail for 30 years, and he should say that. I'm not defending myself, and if you ask me a question that, get out of the room, I'm leaving. That's what he needs to do. We're sick of it. The millions up here who voted for this guy who has to constantly defend himself. It's a gimmick. It's a gimmick to discredit him because these are scum, traitors, Democrats, and rhinos who don't support him because when he said train the swamp, he was talking about them. And that's why they are offended by him. So that's what he needs to do. We're sick of listening to all this defensive mode that's being put out for this guy.
Thank you,
If he can't handle that, then he should get out of the office.
Appreciate your call and your emotion. And that's what this kind of thing is supposed to do. There has to be a breaking point at some point. And maybe we should thank Frederica Wilson in her empty barrelness for putting us at that point. Because today, yesterday, the day before, was over the top. Completely over the top. And the more I find out about this threatened November 4th thing, you just really have no idea, people. You're talking to yourselves, and you've got this thing going where we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And you've got 70 million people out there, maybe more, who are looking at that threat in a way that might give you pause to reflect. And that's all I'm going to say. Here's Gorno and Novi on the Patriot. Hi, Gorno.
Hey, John, how the heck are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Well, I am furious. I am an honorably discharged veteran, and I understood exactly what Mr. Trump was saying. And just as Mary said a moment ago, it was not an insult. It was an honor. We all knew what we were getting into, and we stood on that wall to keep everybody at home safe. That is not an insult. He didn't mean it in a derogatory way. And the only people that are going to see it that way are the ones that are going to see everything he says in a horrible way. But at this point, John, these people are falling all over themselves to be the most outraged. And that's what this woman is doing. And her constituents see her as, the most outraged at the moment, And but it's infuriating to see this happen, and I assure you, sir, I'm sure that most veterans would agree with me. What he said was not an insult; it was an honor.
The highest honor. The highest honor, and let's keep it sacred. Let's not let the left ruin this too.
I agree, John. I agree.
Thank you, Gorno. Appreciate the call. When you heard those things that General Kelly said that were no longer sacred, every single one of them has been destroyed by the left. Every one. Every single one. Does that give anybody impetus to at least try to find out a little bit more what the left is doing and how they have their fingers into everything that we hold sacred in this country and are trying to destroy it and are winning on many fronts? I don't know if you've heard that World War I cross that people see as they fly in has been ordered by a federal court to be torn down. I believe it was erected in 1925. A federal court full of leftist, activist judges. John in Novi, you're next on the Patriot. Go ahead.
Thanks for taking my call, John. I want to express my outrage along with everybody else over what that Congresswoman said. Her in her goofy red cowboy hat with the flower in it, supposedly. Her and frankly, one of our ex-presidents shocked me today by what he said. He didn't mention Trump by name, and I'm talking about George W. Bush.
Yeah, he didn't have to mention President Trump by name. George W. Bush showed himself to be the globalist that he is and a tool of the establishment.
I voted for the man twice, and I'm ashamed to say that I did at this point.
As am I.
And I don't know what else to say except these leftists are evil. And here the man personally tries to reach out in this day and age, and I'm talking about President Trump, trying to reach out and make a personal connection with people. Barack Obama didn't when soldiers died. George Bush didn't. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it happened in World War II and World War I with Presidents Roosevelt and Wilson, but I don't think so. But I mean, the nearest thing in my mind is when President Lincoln wrote that letter to the woman that supposedly lost 5 sons in the war. Of course, it turned out to be a little bit. The actuality was the woman was a little bit of a grifter, but the man's intention were honorable.
Well, there were the 5 fighting Sullivans in the World War II. All 5 died from the same family.
Here they're dishonoring these people
to
make a cheap political point, and I understand she's never voted for anything that would benefit the veterans. What a hypocrite.
Yep, and the left is just, again, trying to destroy all the sacred things. And in many ways they're succeeding, and this may be the clarion call here. This may wake up a lot more people than you think. And if a lot of us have any way of doing that, or have any tools with which we can't do that, then we're going to do it because, frankly, enough is enough. And then what you did, lady, was over the top. 800-923-9385. That's 800-923-WDTK. This is the John McCulloch Show here on FM 101.5 and AM 1400, The Patriot. Folks, the Online Trading Academy is a place where you go to learn. It's a campus. It's not some hotel room where they fly some people in and get you all psyched up, sell you a bunch of tapes and books, and send you home. There's 40 campuses of the Online Trading Academy, and all across the United States, and also all throughout. Well, they're in Dubai, and they're all over the place. And what they do is they teach people how to make money in the stock market, whether the market goes down or up. They teach people how other people do that. They have a professional group of people who are contracted, who come in. These are professional traders. This is what they do. There's a guy who told me one time, hey, look, if you want to make more money, if you want to make a lot of money, find somebody who's done that, ask them how they did it, and then do what they did. Simple. Well, it ain't that simple. You got to work at it. But the point is that that's what Online Trading Academy is all about. They have professional traders contracted to Online Trading Academy that make their living off the stock market, whether it goes down or up. They're there to teach you what they do. Now, what I suggest that you do is what I did and attend a free 3-hour power trading and investment workshop. Find out how these professionals do it. They'll give you a look at it and let you see in some ways how they do it. Their method, by the way, at Online Trading Academy is patented. Go and see what I'm talking about. Here's the number to call for your reservation for the next free session. 844-250-8723. 844-250-8723. That'll reserve your spot. Or you can go to patriotdetroit.com, go at the top of the page, click on the John McCulloch Show, and the number will be right there for you. I'll give it to you again, 844-250-8723. And please remember to tell them John McCulloch sent you.
Now, on-time traffic, news, and weather on the Patriot.
I-94 westbound at West Grand Boulevard, an accident on the right shoulder of the exit ramp. I-696 eastbound between Woodward and I-75, the left lane closed for construction. Traffic is slowing from Greenfield. Beginning Friday at 8 p.m., the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel is scheduled to close in both directions for sealing maintenance going on through October 30th. DeQuinder between Square Lake Road and Burning Bush Drive, that's closed for construction through November 15th. We still have heavy traffic on I-75 northbound between 9 Mile and 12 Mile, I-75 northbound between University Drive and Jocelyn Road, I-75 southbound between Big Beaver and 11 Mile, still heavy, I-75 southbound between M10 and I-96 downtown, still seeing some heavy travel there as well. I-94 eastbound between 696 and 12 Mile, still some heavy traffic. And checking the weather forecast, tonight, clear, a low around 43. Friday, sunny with a high near 70. Friday night, clear, a low around 52. Right now, it's 70 degrees. From the townhall.com newsroom, a dozen children have been rescued and 54 people are in custody in Michigan after a national crackdown on child trafficking. The FBI says 8 sex traffickers in the state were arrested. Multiple local police agencies throughout southeast Michigan took part in the crackdown, along with federal agents and the Michigan State Police. The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and the Salvation Army are helping the rescued kids. 2 Trenton brothers are no longer facing charges in the death of their mother last October. Grant and Gabriel Baylaw had been charged with murder, but those charges were dropped yesterday. Their mother, 58-year-old Vicki Baylaw, died of malnutrition from a medical condition, but her exact cause of death hasn't been determined by the Wayne County Medical Examiner's Office. 2 city councilmen are making a personal plea to voters to oppose 2 marijuana questions on the ballot in November. James Tate and Scott Benson join more than a dozen leaders at the Spirit of Detroit statue. I'm Kevin Sanderson on the Patriot, FM 101.5 and AM 1400.
Joshua's Trail.
This is our anniversary month. Oh, really? We are officially 13 years on WDTK. Who'll be the first to call and wish us happy anniversary on this, our birthday? Judge Masters on line 3. Welcome. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, and a happy anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's every Saturday morning you bring inspiration to us all.
Joshua's Trail.
Saturday mornings from 8 to 10. The John McCulloch Show is sponsored in part by Greg Chiropractic Life Centers.
FM 101.5 and AM 1400, The Patriot. Getting some pretty stunning texts and some very brilliant ones and some predictably stupid ones. And the interesting thing about one that I just got, talking about what Donald Trump said in that one tape that everybody thought was going to bring him down, which it didn't. He was talking about it. The leftists are doing it. Just look at Hollywood, you moron. Bruce in Grosse Pointe Farms, you're next on the Patriot. Go ahead.
Hi, John. Thanks for taking my call.
You know, I am not shocked and I'm not stunned by this, because this is what the left has been doing, especially the Democrats have been doing for as long as I can remember. They have been making political hay, John, over human tragedies going back. Do you remember I forget the name of the senator from Minnesota who died a few years back, and they turned his funeral into a political rally? Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah. And the congresswoman that was from Arizona that was shot, Gabrielle Giffords, thank God she survived, and hopefully my prayers are she's doing well. They turned that, Barack Obama turned that funeral into a political rally.
They were first blaming it on talk radio. Then they blamed it on Sarah Palin.
Yep. Yeah.
Turned out the guy was a leftist.
Right. and John, they have, this woman, like you pointed out so rightly, is this woman has not done a thing for veterans. Okay. These people remind me of the ones that were standing at the airports back in the 70s, spitting on our returning troops and calling them baby killers.
Yep.
Yeah, and these people don't seem to get. When was the last time a Democrat won the presidency with a majority of votes from the military? I don't recall. Can you?
You got me on the spot there, Bruce.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's happened in my lifetime. Maybe Jack Kennedy back in 1960, but I really don't know whether a Democrat nominee for president has won with the military vote, and there's a reason for that, because the Democrat Party is not the party of Scoop Jackson and Hubert Humphrey and even Jack Kennedy. They are a thoroughly far left political. I call it a criminal organization, John. I think it's the oldest and largest criminal enterprise in American history, but that's a topic for another day.
Indeed. By the way, that guy's name that they turned that rally, that was Paul Wellstone.
Paul Wellstone, right? Yeah.
And it made a laughing stock of it. The press didn't cover it enough. They should have, but they didn't. And Bruce, I thank you for the call. Appreciate you joining us tonight. Let's go to Cyril in Southfield on the Patriot. Hi, Cyril. Cyril, you're next. Go ahead. Well, Cyril, you snooze, you lose. Here's Rocco in Birmingham on the Patriot. Hi, Rocco.
Hi, John. 30 years ago, I went to school for my junior year in college. I was fortunate enough to go to England. And I went to one of the looniest leftist universities in England. And when the one thing I learned from that was leftists ruin everything. That's their nature. That's what they do. And I remember getting back to the United States and thinking, oh my God, I mean, we do not have politics like that, thank God. And then it just went over the years to some. So this is still the time of Reagan. So then I've seen it just go, they've ruined everything. I think the most depressing and telling statistic I heard was when another talk show host said that a huge percentage of special forces, U.S. special forces, special ops, are very, very liberal, are very leftist. When I heard that, I thought, oh my God, we are in trouble. But anyway, when I hear people like Kelly saying what he said today about that congressperson, now that gives me, again, somebody finally standing up and fighting back.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like to me too, Rocco, and I really appreciate the call. As a matter of fact, let's play Cut 3 again. This is General John Kelly. He is the Chief of Staff, a former Marine. No, you're never a former Marine. Let's just hear that cut 3.
I'll end with this. In April of 2015, I was still on active duty, and I went to the dedication of the new FBI field office in Miami. And it was dedicated to two men who were killed in a firefight in Miami against drug traffickers in 1986. A guy by the name of Grogan in Duke. Grogan almost retired, 53 years old. Duke, I think less than a year on the job. Anyways, they got in a gunfight and they were killed. Three other FBI agents were there, were wounded, now retired. So we go down, Jim Comey did an absolutely brilliant memorial speech to those fallen men and to all of the men and women of the FBI who serve our country so well and law enforcement so well. There were family members there. Some of the children that were there were only 3 or 4 years old when their dads were killed on that street in Miami-Dade. 3 of the men that survived the fight were there and gave a rendition of how brave those men were and how they gave their lives. And a congresswoman stood up, and in the long tradition of empty barrels making the most noise, stood up there and all of that and talked about how she was instrumental in getting the funding for that building and how she took care of her constituents because she got the money, and she just called up President Obama, and on that phone call he gave the money, the $20 million to build the building. And she sat down and we were stunned that she'd done it. Even for someone that is that empty a barrel, we were stunned. But none of us went to the press and criticized. None of us stood up and were appalled. We just said, okay, fine. So I still hope, as you write your stories, and I appeal to America, that let's not let this maybe last thing that's held sacred in our society. A young man, young woman going out and giving his or her life for our country. Let's try to somehow keep that sacred.
FM 101.5, AM 1400, The Patriot. I've told you a number of times how the Cruz hearing experience is truly, truly special and unique. It's special and unique because of the good that they do at Cruz hearing. There's a lot of people who come into Cruz hearing and don't want to be there. I like going there, so I'm one of the ones who comes through the door. I want to be there. But there's a lot of people who are there for the first time and they don't want to be there. And they don't really know why they don't want to be there. It's just a feeling that they have. And many of them leave with the knowledge that they got a friend. That they've got a friend in the Cruz family who cares about their hearing and is not going to try to beat them over the head with all kinds of fancy sales techniques to try to get them to do what it is that they need to do. They're simply going to give them the information or a set of digital hearing aids to take home for 10 days or so to try out to see if hearing correction is for them. No obligation on that, by the way, and there's no deposits to be made or anything. That's just the way the Cruz family is. But please understand that I know how hard it is to take that first step. But when you go to Cruz hearing, you're entering into a group, a family that just cares that you get that information, the information you need to make a good decision about your hearing health. You don't have to buy from them. You can buy from somebody else, but you'll go out of there with the information that you need. They have 2 locations to serve you, one downriver in Taylor and the other in Farmington Hills. Same number for both. Strongly urge you to make that call. It was the hardest call I made in a long time, and believe me, it'll be the hardest call you make, but the results will surprise you. 877-456-2789. That's 877-456-CRUISE. 877-456-2789. Please let the Cruz family know John McCulloch sent you.
Now, on-time traffic and weather on the Patriot.
I-94 westbound at West Grand Boulevard acts at right shoulder of the exit ramp. I-696 eastbound between Woodward and I-75. The left lane closed for construction. Traffic is slowing from Greenfield. Beginning Friday at 8 p.m., the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel is scheduled to close in both directions for sealing maintenance going on through October 30th. I-96, the Jeffries eastbound and westbound on West Grand Boulevard, the left lane blocked for construction on West Grand Boulevard between I-96 and Grand River Avenue. That work goes until November the 6th. DeQuinder between Square Lake Road and Burning Bush Drive, that's closed for construction through November 15th. Greenfield both ways between 9 Mile and 696, lane restrictions for concrete slab replacement work. Your weather forecast tonight, clear, a low around 43. Friday, sunny with a high near 70. Friday night, clear, a low around 52. Right now, it's 67 degrees. I'm Kevin Sanderson on The Patriot, FM 101.5 and AM 1400.
You know secondhand smoke is a health risk. When you see someone smoking or you smell smoke, you avoid it. Did you know the second leading cause of lung cancer cannot be seen, smelled, or tasted? It's radon gas. It may cause over 600 new lung cancers in Michigan this year. And the only way to know you're safe from radon is to have your home tested. 1 in 8 Michigan homes test positive for dangerous levels of radon gas. Call 1-800-RADON-GAS to learn more about radon and having your home tested. This message sponsored by the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality and the Michigan Association of Broadcasters.
MotorCityHelpWanted.com salutes the Employee of the Month, the one employee you can't live without. The others, let's just call them Dave.
Dave, are you stealing from the vending machine?
No, Mr. Employee of the Month.
Well, your desk is littered with like hundreds of snacks.
I merely exposed a loophole by reaching my arm through the flap thingy. Does that sound like stealing to you?
Yes.
Granola bar?
If you don't mind hiring Daves, go to the national job boards. They may be free, but trust us, they'll cost you. We make it easy to post a job, and it's local, so you won't get spammed by faraway job seekers. MotorCityHelpWanted.com. Local jobs that work.
The John McCulloch Show is brought to you in part by Dr. Richard Klein at the Michigan Head and Neck Institute.
And here's Bobby in New Baltimore on the Patriot. Hey, Bobby.
Good evening, John. Thanks for taking my call. I have to chime in on this. I'm just as disgusted as everybody else with the left, but as long as Trump's in office, we all know it's not going to stop. I would like to add that I think they're in full attack mode for the longest time because they're trying to cover up the uranium gate type thing. And all, the special counsel they have against them with, what's the guy's name, Mueller, or... I think this is all a diversion to cover all that up. What do you think, John?
I think that there's something going on. Not sure exactly what it is. And when President Trump referred to the calm before the storm, maybe he knew that this uranium one thing was going to be, the big thing that it's going to be, that the Justice Department was going to go into a full-blown investigation of it. And, that's possible because it goes deeper than we even know at this point. But I do know that the left is coming unglued. They're teaming up with people, Anti-Fa and other groups that mean nothing but trouble. And they're going to get blamed for it. Chucky Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, they think that they can go home to their cushy homes and hide from their association with these radical leftist organizations, and they're not going to be able to do it anymore. And so I think there's something in the wind, and I think that they are trying to cover for it. But some things you just can't cover for, especially when you have a tiger by the tail. And they have one, and that's my take on it, Bobby. I think you're right on top of it. Appreciate your call. Thanks for being with us tonight. Here's Charlene and Troy on the Patriot. Hey, Charlene.
Hi, John. Well, anything the left does not stun me. In fact, it doesn't even mildly surprise me, because these people are congenitally incapable of feeling shame. There is no depth to which they would not sink. And so why anybody is surprised by all this, I don't know. And it's going to continue, like your previous caller said. I mean, they are not going to stop. They'll be doing this through all 4 years or 8 years of Trump's administration. It's not going to end. They're going to keep ramping it up in a desperate attempt to try to turn the nation against him and get him impeached.
But as they do it, each time they do it, his support gets stronger.
I think so. I think people can see what's going on, and they often mock it, like the Free Press. It has a little thing about their little section for fake news. Well, back when Mark Twain or Samuel Clemens, back in the 1800s, he once said, if you don't read the newspapers, you are uninformed, and if you read the newspapers, you are misinformed.
Every time there are more quotes from that guy than we could list in 2 days of broadcasting. Thanks for the call, Charlene. How did he come up with so many great quotes?
Want to fly somewhere? Looking for cheap flights or cheap tickets? Then call. That's right. Call the low-cost airline travel hotline now for prices so low we can't publish them anywhere. Low-cost airlines has all kinds of cheap travel deals. Fly domestically and save up to 75%. You can even fly internationally and save even more. Yes, fly anywhere in the world and save a lot of money on your plane tickets. We'll even save you money with cheap travel deals on hotels, rental cars, even complete travel packages. So don't book your tickets until you call us first for the absolute cheapest prices on U.S. and international airline tickets and hotels. Call right now for prices so low they can't be published. Travel experts are here 24/7 to help.
800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397.
Okay, so you want one. How about getting two? MyPillow.com, promo code WDTK. You'll get 2 MyPillows for the price of 1. That's MyPillow.com, promo code WDTK. 2 MyPillows for the price of 1. And you, too, can start sleeping the way nature intended.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Promo code WDTK. Here's Ross in Canada on the Patriot. Hi, Ross.
Hi, good evening, John. Lots of excitement going on across the border there, I see. I'm pretty excited about, not the fact that they sold uranium to the Russians, but that it's all being exposed. I like what that lady says, they're going to keep at it, and I believe that's true. And you said they're coming unglued, and I believe that because we've got a godly, righteous man in the White House now, and he is just blowing everything apart. So whatever plans they had to take over and get all the marbles is coming apart. And every time they do something now, that's absolutely right. More and more is going to be exposed. So it looks like things are looking up for you guys over there.
Well, and I have a person who texted me tonight who said that it's the idiot leftists are getting hit right between the eyes with a boomerang that they still haven't learned to use.
Yeah, because that's what it says in the Bible, right? They're going to dig themselves a ditch and they're going to fall into it themselves, and that's exactly what we're watching. I'm all for that.
So you see it too?
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm glad sometimes I get tunnel vision, and if you're watching it from our neighbor country to the north and you're seeing it, that just adds more encouragement to us. Thanks, Ross. Appreciate the call. Have yourself a great night. Thanks to Tiffany Little for engineering and call screening tonight. This program is produced by Steve Dealey. Thank you for listening. Thank you for calling. Thank you for texting. And thank you for watching. Stay tuned for Getting Out of the Pain Lane with Dr. Richard Klein and me. That congresswoman today stole a private moment, twisted it to feed the ignorant, and she certainly succeeded in doing that. I'm John McCulloch. Have as good a night as you can.
The John McCulloch Show is sponsored in part by Dr. Richard Klein of Michigan Head and Neck, Greg Chiropractic Life Center, Azertech Public Adjusters, Cruise Hearing Aid Centers, and Online Trading Academy. The John McCulloch Show on the new FM 101.5 and AM 1400.
You can't handle the truth.
The Patriot.
This is David Davenport of the Hoover Institution for Townhall.com. NFL players kneeling to protest the national anthem isn't going away. 2 owners say their players must stand. Now the commissioner wants a rule requiring all NFL players to stand. Vice President Pence famously walked out on the protest. But here's one thing you should know that many don't. Even though the phrase free speech is thrown around, the players have no constitutionally protected right to protest the anthem. The First Amendment prohibits the government from limiting free speech, not a football team. In fact, sports teams are businesses, and their leagues may regulate all kinds of things, from tucking in your shirt to what patches you wear. If there is any legal angle here, it is a matter of labor negotiations between the players' unions and management or the league. But it's not a matter of constitutional